Hello, and welcome to Zakitude News. I'm your host, Zach Iscock. Today, we are going to be talking about something very important in the world right now. Not just in Canada, but the entire globe as a whole. I'm speaking, of course, of the Syrian refugees. Specifically, I had this planned. I actually had my whole script for today written out last week on Wednesday or Thursday before the terror attacks in Paris on Friday, which were a tragedy. And I talked about that in my daily vlog already. So, while browsing Facebook last week, I came across this picture. As you saw, it said, "Why Canada fucks up. Pays $10.5 million to bring Syrian refugees to Canada using your tax money. But what's he gonna give this homeless veteran in his backyard? Nothing. Share what matters." Now, besides how horribly written that is, I mean, it says the Canadian government, then it says what's he gonna do for this, referencing Justin Trudeau, but it doesn't talk about Justin Trudeau, it just talks about the government. Never mind the fact that the plan to bring the 25,000 Syrian refugees was in place before Justin Trudeau became our Prime Minister. It still doesn't make sense. So while being super upset about this post, I decided to be logical, and instead of go on Facebook and vent my frustrations about research, I did a little research first, specifically into the homeless problem in Canada, because that's what the post was talking about. Now, according to studies, there are approximately 300,000 homeless Canadians in a given year. But only 4,000 to 8,000 of those are what's called chronically homeless. And chronically homeless means the people you see living on the street day after day after day. Now, most Canadians who experience homelessness experiences a one-time thing from a job loss, family problems, mental issues, and are generally in a homeless shelter for 1 month. Now, the Canadian government is working on finding permanent solutions to homelessness. Duh. But this post seems to forget that. They're like, no, the Canadian government doesn't care about the homeless people. They're just bringing in a bunch of immigrants. All those foreigners. So, of course, our government is trying to fix homelessness. That's just obvious and common sense. Because we're not the States and we care about our... I'm getting in trouble for saying that. But we're not the States. We care about our common people here. Now, in 2013, the numbers of homeless veterans across the entire country were 236. Now, none of that is verified. Those are just people on the street who are claiming they were veterans. Veterans Affairs Canada has said that they have no idea how many of those people are actual veterans, because a lot of people on the street especially will just say that they're a veteran to get sympathy, because we want to treat our vets better than we want to treat other homeless people, which is also sad. But we're going from 300,000 homeless a year to only 4,000 to 8,000 of those people being chronically homeless, to out of those 300,000 people, 236 claiming to be veterans. So we have this huge number, down, 236. So obviously these 236 people are infinitely more important than the 11 million Syrians who have been displaced from their country and from their homes from the Civil War. But God forbid we try to help people, because there's 236 potential veterans living on the street. Screw those 11 million people. Us white Canadians are more important than they are. Of course, this isn't the view of all Canadians. Most Canadians that I've talked to are in favor of the refugees coming over still. There's just this extremely vocal minority of, yes, white hicks who are against it, who are racist and Islamophobic and xenophobic, which isn't Canadian people. We are not a xenophobic country. We are not xenophobes. We're not racist. What is wrong with you? Now, obviously, these 25,000 that we're agreeing to take in is just far too many refugees. I mean, come on. Turkey's taken in 1.9 million refugees. 250,000 have gone to Iraq, who also has a bunch of issues going on right now. But 25,000? That is out of line, Prime Minister Trudeau. After all, helping people is so un-Canadian. For those of you who didn't pick up on that, that was very heavily sarcastic. So there's 11 million people who are displaced, and over 220,000 people have died because of what's going on in Syria right now. And half of those have been civilians. So that is over 110,000 people, innocent people, men, women, children, who have died because of this crisis, and yet we don't want to let in 25,000 of them? We don't want to save 25,000 lives on the off chance that one or two of them could be here to cause us harm. You know what? You know how many white people... I'm really against white people right now. You know how many Canadians bring harm to each other all the time? Remember the shootings on Parliament Hill a couple months ago? That ring a bell? You remember who that was done by? Oh, Zach, that was done by Islamic terrorists, obviously. No, it wasn't. Now, of the 11 million displaced civilians, over 6.5 million of them are children. Kids who have been out of school for months, or even for years in some cases, because of what's going on in their country. 6.5 million kids have been forced out of their homes, out of their schools, to run for their lives because of what's going on there. This Canada First stance that this really vocal minority has taken is just sickening. That's never what this country, my country, was about. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, my uncles, my great-uncles, all of the people in my family who fought in the world wars were not fighting for this Canada. They went to overseas to help free people from people like you, to free other people from the racists and the xenophobes who were taking over their country and saying what they were wrong, that they were living wrong, that their religion was wrong, that the way they talked was wrong, and that their skin color was wrong. That is what our veterans fought against, and you're using our veterans as an excuse for your racism and Islamophobia. How selfish are you? Our soldiers and our veterans, especially the ones who died in the world wars, would be so disappointed at this. They wouldn't recognize our Canada. And you know what? My grandfather, who passed away a few years ago, who fought in World War II, he would support the refugees coming in because he was a good person. The Canada of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, the Canada that started the idea of peacekeeping, would be disappointed in this racist and xenophobic country that we're becoming. And to the people who are specifically using the homeless veterans as an excuse not to bring in the refugees, why aren't you mentioning the 40,000 homeless youth on our streets? I mean, 16,000 of those 40,000 homeless youth are from the LGBT community who were kicked out of their homes because of who they are. But you're not bringing them up. Because those 236 veterans that you're using as an excuse for your racism, you think that makes a harder impact than the 40,000 homeless youth. You know, it's people like you that make me scared of this, for this country. Who make me disgusted at humanity. I used to be proud to be Canadian. I have a message for the country right now. Canada, stop making American problems our problems. Stop making American issues our issues. We aren't the United States. We are better than this. Our forefathers raised us better than this. Get off your fucking Canada First high horse and be the country that we are supposed to be. The country that the rest of the world remembers us to be.